On July 18, 1915, an act of state legislature provided for an appointment of a building commission of 5 citizens to search for land not less than 500 acres west of the Alleghenies to establish a hospital for the mentally ill in western Pennsylvania. The hospital was to be called Western State Hospital for the Insane. In those days, the hospital was largely self-sustaining, with patients and staff operating a full-fledged farm on the hospital property. Throughout the history of the hospital, and when we look at our timeline, just some incredible changes have gone on toward the help and support of patients with mental illnesses. The face of mental health treatment has changed significantly over the years to include a focus on recovery, community reintegration, and consumer-driven services. Torrance State Hospital is part of a continuum of services offered to individuals transitioning through their recovery journey. In 1916, the Building Commission chose the Westmoreland County area and procured farmland located on the present location of the hospital. Torrance State Hospital opened its doors on November 25, 1919, when 5 patients were transferred from Danville State Hospital, beginning a century of uninterrupted service to the community. On August 14, 1923, the name of the hospital was changed from Western State Hospital for the Insane to Torrance State Hospital in honor of Francis J. Torrance, chairman of the hospital's original building commission. Pennsylvania's first Mental Health Act was approved on July 11, 1923. The act established uniform admission, commitment, and discharge procedures and codified all acts since 1845. Also, the act revised mental health terminology, substituting the term mental illness for other terms when referring to patients. Treatment focus at the hospital in the early years was based primarily on providing stable housing for the patients. The lack of community mental health care necessitated the admission of many patients to the hospital that in modern day would not even be considered. Individuals suffering from epilepsy, intellectual disabilities, and other physical limitations were often hospitalized in the hospital for extended periods of time. During this period, there was a significant lack of psychotropic medications, and treatment provided was essentially structured living, work therapy through the farm and other employment opportunities, in addition to the intermittent use of other treatments such as hydrotherapy and electroconvulsive shock therapy. In 1948, with the assistance of the University of Pittsburgh, an affiliate school of psychiatric nursing was established at Torrance State Hospital. Classes began in January of 1948 with student nurses from Indiana and Conemaugh hospitals. In 1953, the Renner Building was opened as a building to house patients that suffered from tuberculosis. The prevailing treatment at the time was that tubercular patients would benefit from, quote, clean air, unquote, and the hospital built Renner Building to house these individuals since it was the highest point on the hospital grounds. Eventually, these patients were transferred to Mayview State Hospital, and the building was converted to house infirm men and women, in addition to X-ray and a dental clinic. In 1960, we had over 3,000 individuals at the state hospital, and we had 944 employees. In 1963, the Community Mental Health Center Act was established to provide significant community mental health treatment. This coincided with the development of many community services that allowed our patients to be discharged from the hospital and be provided adequate care in their home communities. In 1974, the Pennsylvania Peonage Abolishment Act was enacted in all state hospitals in Pennsylvania. The act stated that patients must work only on a voluntary basis in specifically defined functions of the hospital and must be paid for the work, and the work itself must be therapeutic. In 2003, specifically on August 14, 2003, the Pennsylvania legislature enacted Act 21 that mandated the Department of Human Services to provide mental health and sex offense-specific treatment for an identified population that had been adjudicated of certain sex-related crimes. In 2004, the Sexual Responsibility and Treatment Program opened on the campus of Torrance State Hospital. In 2008, specifically on November 13th, 2008, the Regional Forensic Psychiatric Center was transferred from Mayview State Hospital to Torrance State Hospital. When Mayview State Hospital closed in December 31st, 2008, many of their employees transferred to Torrance State Hospital, And while Mayview was able to place the majority of their patients in the community, a few patients were transferred to Torrance State Hospital for further treatment. The treatment philosophy has changed over the years to a recovery active treatment model. This model includes specific social rehabilitative services that strives to holistically treat the needs of our consumers. The departments of psychology, social services, therapeutic activities, including vocational paid work experiences, peer support, and spiritual support, all focus on the active treatment rehabilitative process. No longer are the days when individuals remain in this level of care for many years of their lives. Our current treatment philosophy includes a focus on mental health stabilization, life skill enhancement, maintaining the individual's community support systems, while striving for eventual community reintegration. Our hope for the future is that this level of care remains only a temporary intervention along the individual's journey of recovery.